Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Mochi Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Tava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Maham Om Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Welcome everyone. So we have a good group today. We went back to G8 and we'll begin today from the verse 33. There is a fly here, so if it becomes a disturbance to you guys, you just let me know. Here it makes a zzz, but it's not really disturbing me. I need to get my gun and shoot it. The method of self-realization. So after having seen the initial verse of the Panchadasi, chapter 1, now we go into what Vedanta is all about. It is a body of knowledge, a teaching methodology. It's a method that serves the purpose to reveal the self to the individual jiva, the free, limitless self to the individual jiva who is mistakenly identified with the body-mind, which is not free and not unlimited, So that is the purpose. So we look now into the method of self-realization. The following verse from the 33 to 48 begin the systematic unfolding shravana of the 5 layers of the human personality, which apparently hide awareness. So the best way to say that the 5 layers of human personality or the 5 layers of human experience, it effectively distracts us from the most obvious, which is the conscious awareness shining, revealing to the jiva the world of multiplicity of objects. So remember the teaching of the hand. We miss the light that reveals the hand, and we see the hand. We read the newspaper, we miss the paper, and we read the words. So likewise, we get distracted by this beautiful samsara, and somehow we miss the most obvious, which is our nature, which is purna, which is free, which is limitless. So these 5 levels of human personality, so 5 levels of human experience, experiencing through the 5 koshas, as we know. We experience the body and we feel like, oh my God, I feel, really heavy today. So who feels heavy? So it's the body is heavy because it has been putting on a lot of weight in the past several years. So now that one has become big, one says like, oh my God, I'm so heavy, I'm so big. So what is that? This is the body, the food kosha, that somehow is giving the jiva atma this experience, and the experience takes the body to be itself, right? It says, I am big, I am full, I am heavy, and so on. So these 5 levels of human experience which apparently hide awareness. Of course, awareness is absolutely not hidden by any of that, but somehow the jiva gets distracted to the world of phenomena experience, phenomena objects. The body is an object. So what kind of object is the body? So the body is a very, very intimate object, and the identification with the body is such that we have a hard time to taking the body as an object. Yeah? We tend to see the body as what? I, the subject. I, the body, the subject, right? So we have in Vedanta a simple analogy to explain this intimacy, yeah, between the Jiva Atma and the body. So the body is a very intimate object, but yet it's still an object. The same way we have the glass, we see the world through the glass. It's not a pair of glass, a reading glass, a seeing glass, and so on. And we see the world through a pair of glass, but we have a hard time to see the glass objectively because it becomes part of who we are. We say, oh, and I include my beautiful glass, like the glass of roots there. So the root, it became a fashion accessory that it's part of my body now. I don't see it objectively. I see the world through this pair of glass. So we see the world through this food body. We interact with the world, and we have a hard time to see our body objectively. So, but it's all part of the trick played by Maya, distracting us and making us identify with these 5 layers of human experience. So these 5 layers are called the 5 sheaths, or the 5 koshas, as we know. However, something that pervades everything cannot be covered. So this is a logic that we know very well. So how can we cover the infinite? Oh, we need to have infinite cover for the infinite. You understand? So, but if we have an infinite cover, and then we have 2 infinites, one is the substrate and the other is a cover, which is an absurd, So when you have the limitless, that which has no limitation, and which is infinite, there is nothing that can really cover it. So this idea of concealing or covering is better described as distraction. So the self gets distracted because the human jiva has all the sense organs direct to the world of object, and it finds it fascinating and then gets distracted and misses the obvious. There is nothing bigger beyond consciousness that could cover it, because reality is non-dual consciousness, one without a second. So there is nothing. There is no true consciousness. There is no true Brahmans. And if there was true Brahmans, and then reality would be duality, true consciousness, true realities. And then one could be in between the other, be in front of the other and cover our view of consciousness, but all of that is in the field of impossibility. So there is only one non-dual reality, one non-dual awareness is one without anything other than itself. For example, objects do not conceal space because space pervades them, even though they exist in space. So space, as we know, is an excellent symbol of the self, because space is the most subtle of all elements. It somehow accommodates all the other elements, and all objects constituted by the elements. So space is the most pervasive, and likewise the self is the most pervasive. So it pervades everything. Therefore, there is nothing in the world of superimposition, in the world of object, in the world of phenomena, in the world of jiva or many jiva that can cover that, which is the substratum, which is pervading everything. So any little thing, it's going to just be a small, minor superimposition on the vast existence of awareness. We know that objects do not conceal space, and space becomes absolutely untouched. I remember Nisargadatta Maharaj in his book, I Am That, in the back there was like this analogy of the space, and say the space is always untouched. So buildings can be erased and destroyed, and the space remains unaffected by the the building up and the bringing down of all these buildings. And likewise, consciousness remains unaffected. So such is the importance of this analogy, this symbol called the space. Discovering is just ignorance. This ignorance is due to this extroversion, this distraction of ours. Therefore, we need the scriptures to hold our hands and says, come on, let's take a look. Let's analyze certain things here. You're very experienced, and let's integrate something that is always present in every one of our experience, as the light of consciousness, the light of knowledge, the light of existence, that which is conceding existence to everything we know. So discovery is just ignorance, which is due to this extroversion of the five senses and the mind and the intellect. It merely directs attention. Reflect awareness to the conscious, so it doesn't go to the self. So discoverings, they are just objects of experience, because we experience objects. It's so easy to see the world out there as objects. But when these objects are very intimate to us, very, very, I would say, close to us, like what? Like my feeling. So we never said, oh, there is a feeling here. We say, oh, my feeling, we say, oh, there is a feeling here, and then I have no clue. Who does this feeling belong to? No, we immediately say, this is me, my feeling. So my thought, my emotions, my body, my pranas, my notions, my everything is owned by the jiva. It's identification that makes the jiva to claim all these five realms, these five layers of experience to be himself or herself. So this conscious, it somehow distracts the conscious awareness and directs its attention to this very subtle. It's not really subtle, because the physical body is not subtle, but let's say very intimate. It's so close, it's so intimate. It's like a pair of glass. So it's so intimate that we have a hard time to see it as objects. But those are all objects, because as we know, the definition of objects is that which is not myself, that which can be objectified by me, and I cannot be myself and something that I perceive. I'm either the perceiver or the perceived. And as we know, we can objectify and perceive all these five layers of human experience. And that's what Vedanta helps us with, so that we can begin detaching from these objects, which are the primary objects that we are identified with. The object to discriminate myself from that mountain there is relatively easy, because I know I am here and the mountain is there. The tree is there. But from these five layers of our very experience, because these are aspects of the body-mind, the body-mind construct, the body-mind complex. So it feels like, no, this is me, and I cannot really reject these things as not myself. So therefore, these teachings are very, very, very important because, of course, we tend to develop identification from some physical objects, such as my house, yeah? My job. It's easy for us as well, to begin developing attachment and identification and building, wrapping a personality around my job position and my house and so on. And then all of those things, they may be integrate as myself, my story, and so on. Yeah? But these 5 layers are the most intimate objects that we often confuse them as the subject, as me, right? Are we following? When you watch a movie, you are constantly looking at the screen, but you don't notice the screens. Another example. So we see the movie, there is a screen, and there are the pictures, and they move, they appear to be moving, and we miss the screen. And we don't notice it because we are distracted by what? By the movie, yeah? The events happening on the movie. So the movie, what does the movie does? The movie is something that it's not, it said, I'm going to go to the movie. It seems that I go somewhere where things are moving. No? But no, it's because the movie moves me. When I see the movie, I move towards the pictures and I get involved. I get totally distracted in the story and I miss the screen and I'm totally moved by the movie, by the pictures and so on. It distracts, it extroverts us. So these are all analogies, right? We don't know. It's because we are distracted by the pictures on the screen. The purpose of this teaching is to focus our attention on the self rather than on the experience that happens, that occur within this is within the scope of the self, of consciousness. So these are introductory verse. The cautions will be discussed in great details later on. The verse 33 is just presenting the teachings before we go more deeply into them. The 5 sheaths of the self are the food sheaths, the food kosher. The food kosher is a very interesting, funny name that these teachings attribute to what we call my body, my physical body. So the physical body here, for some reason, is described as the food body. Food. Why to call my body a food body? It's insulting, right? Why? No, it's just to make a point. You know, you're like you're a supermarket bag, a bag of skin. You go to the supermarket and then you fill up the bag with groceries, and that's you, that's me. Yeah, we are a bag full of food. No? So it says a lot about the food body. It's just the elements. The elements are there: a bag of bones, a bag of flesh, a meat tube, a sausage, as Ramji likes to put. All of that is to somehow to develop in us a sense of this passion towards this meat tube, this food body. The food body, the vital air, the prana, and all the pranas. Yeah? We have all the physiological systems: respiration, evacuation, respiration, digestion, uh, evacuation, and what is the other one? Respiration, evacuation, digestion, and no, udana is the power to expel things. It's the only one of the pranas that expels things rather than bring. Yeah, the Sattva body as well, but also undesirable.
Circulation.
Circulation, thank you. So we have this
circulation.
Yeah, we have these systems, and we very often we identify with them as well. Now we say, oh my God, I'm very hot today, huh? Phew, I'm very hot. So I'm identifying with the prana, that is regulating my temperature and so on. So we have also the mental. The mental is very commonly known by us, because it is what we could refer to as our emotional body. It's the aspect of a subtle body that sense, that receives the objects and the thought of objects and the feeling, sensation, emotion that comes with every contact we have with the field of object. So this is a very volatile kind of kosha, or human experience, or emotional side, or emotional body. Huh? And all the time we say, oh my God, I feel really totally confused. Or confused is more an aspect of the intellect, but on the emotional body, now we would say, oh, I feel depressed, oh, I feel so high, oh, I feel so happy, oh, I feel so angry, oh, I feel so, anything. It's just emotions playing, and the play of emotions is a nice way, because every object we contact produces a feeling and emotion, and we are played by this play of emotion all the time, and we don't know why we keep going like that with our emotional body, with our feelings. But this is the name of the game. Well, our likes and dislikes are going to produce emotions in every contact with the world of objects, and we are going to be played emotionally. So we get identified, and we also feel, oh my God, I feel so sad today, Why? Because this and this and this and this. Huh? So all this emotional body, we all know there are a lot of people who are mainly identified with the mental emotional aspects of the subtle body. A lot of women are said to be more emotional, but there are exceptions to the rule. And there are some men that may be as emotional, if not more than women. No? But the intellect is a little bit finer aspect of the subtle body. It's subtler, it's a little bit more balanced. It's our discriminating, determining power. It does not give much room to feelings, because the mind feels and the intellect says, okay, just don't behave like that, stop crying, you know this is my decision and that's it, and get over it. So the intellect is the judge, so this is it, and I don't want to hear about your your emotional rebellion, your emotional resistance, or your complaints, your kicks and screamings. So this is the intellect, the determining factor. Yeah? And then we have the bliss quotient. The bliss quotient is a very interesting one, as we know, because we experience satisfaction, peace, love, silence every time we transcend all these four, yeah, inferior koshas, or lower koshas, and then we go into a state in which the mind is resolved for some reason, and then we experience what is said to be the bliss kosha, the kosha of silence, peace, lack of desires and aversions, and it's the closest experience we have of the self. It's a kind of experience of the self. That's why many people get attached to the bliss kosha, because when we experience through the causal body, like in the deep sleep, on certain moments during our waking state, or even during samadhi, we experience there. When we experience there, what's happening? The intellect is not present. The mind is not present. The ego is not present. No, it was suspended or it was suppressed in a way, or turned off, howsoever we want to visualize that. And then in the absence of the ego and the intellect, we don't experience our likes and dislikes, our desires and fears. And the experience of the ego that is suppressed is equal to an experience of the self, which is the fundamental nature of the ego. So we don't experience the ego because it's suppressed, and then we may say that you experience yourself because the ego is suppressed or suspended, as howsoever we want to say. Now, therefore, a lot of people live the entire life trying to tap into the anandamayakosa and experience, this self. Yeah? I mean, it's some of our texts are going to say that it's the self experience itself, and then more technically correct would be to say it is the self experiencing through the prana jiva, the total absence of duality, the absence of the ego, the absence of the duality subject object. But yet there is a very subtle experiencer entity there, because for experience to take place, we need an experiencing agent. So the jiva is not only the vishwa. The jiva has three aspects to its personality, which are the three states, which requires three bodies. Now, the causal body is the body by which the prana experience the absence of the ego, the absence of desires and fears. And then we have the subtle body, by which the taijasa, the dreamer that dreams even when it's awake, experience its mental construct. It either superimpose its own notions on the Vyavaharic reality of Ishvara, interpreting the world in certain ways, or it projects its own ideas and notions and vasanas during the awakening, during the dream state. So the Vishwa, as we know it, experiencing the physical material world through the physical body with the physical instruments of perception and action. So this is the introduction that brings us to these 5 levels. And as I was saying, the Bliss Sheath is the most desirable by most spiritual people. And the unfortunate, it's unfortunate that most people, they don't understand that this bliss is the very nature of the Jiva Atma, and therefore it does not need to go into sleep, or it does not need to learn how to faint, or how to go into nirvikalpa samadhi. It's the very nature, and it can be tapped into by the means of understanding that. Once you understand that that is your very nature, and then you addressing the fundamental problem, which are desires and aversions, by the means of jnana, rather than trying to control the mind to produce a certain mental state. Identified with them, it apparently forgets its real nature, and is apparently subject to transmigration. Transmigration, again, is the notion of reincarnation, as we saw in the previous verse. Why? Because if it gets identified with the 5 bodies, by the way, you heard me saying that, calling the mind quotient, the mental quotient, as a as the emotional body. So these 5 koshas are five. It's a different way to divide the body in 5 parts. You understand? We divide the body into 3. The jiva has 3 bodies, but we can classify in 5 bodies like that: the prana body, the physical body, the emotional body, the intellectual body, and the causal body. It's a different teaching, but it's basically the same, serves the same purpose. And once the Jivatma identifies with any one of these 5 bodies, it's caught up into the world of identification with matter, with energy. And then it develops desires and aversions, and then it remains caught up in what we call samsara, samsara chakra, and is subject to infinite births or transmigration. The verse 34, the gross body is known as the annamayakosa, or the food sheath, the portion of the Sattva body which is composed by the 5 vital airs and the 5 organs of action, evolves from rajas and is called the pranamayakosa, or the vital air sheath. So the verse here is already addressing 2 of those bodies. Now the food body is known as annamayakosa, okay, or the food sheaths. The portion of the subtle body which is composed by the 5 vital airs is called the pranamayakosa, or the vital air sheath. So we have more or less addressed already, covered in the introduction, the annamayakosa, and it's composed by the 5 elements, the 3 energies, the 5 elements, and all the other elements that evolves from the primary elements to compose this bag of chemical, or howsoever we want to see. And then from there, there is a very subtle body which is sandwiched between the food body, the gross body, and the physical body. I don't know if you have ever noticed that the pranas, they are there in between the physical body and the subtle body. And one may scratch one's head and say, oh my God, but this prana body, is it something that belongs to the subtle body, Claudio? Claudio is really sleepy in this class in the evening. Is this prana body, the 5 vital airs, the 5 physiological system? Does it belong to the physical body or belongs to the subtle body? And in the charts of Ramji, you'll see that he puts it in between. In the beginning, I used to think what it means to be in between. It means that it does not belong to one or to another. So no, the scripture says that all these 5 vital airs, they belong to the subtle body. But it's interesting thing is that they serve the subtle body, but in connection with the physical body, because this intelligent air, which is designed to cover 5 independent or different functions, it's controlled by the subtle body. It belongs to the subtle body. When the subtle body leaves the physical body, it takes the 5 koshas, the 5 vital airs with it, because it's very, very subtle. It's pure energy, but it's there in the subtle body, but it's there to activate the physical body. And then we get the impression that it belongs to the physical body because it is this 5 vital airs system that activates and enlivens, and makes the physical body dance, with vitality. And we know that that when the vital air leaves the body and does not come back, so they take a small mirror and then they put close to our nose when we are, we are already like more on the other side, G sign, and then they say, no, there's nothing, there is no vital air coming out. It means that it has gone away, never to come back. Yeah? So we know that the prana does not remain with the physical body. And then it's another indication to show us that it belongs to the subtle body. It departs with the subtle body at the time of death. Yeah? So we have these 5 vital airs, and then we have also the 5 organs of actions evolves from rajas. So what does that mean? It means that this gross body, this food body is there, yeah, but it is so intimately connected with the subtle body, yeah, that there are these functions of the subtle body that are required for this physical body to operate. So in which are and where these functions, we are talking about what? We remember that we have 2 aspects to our personality coming. It's a different teaching from a different angle. We are the karta, the ones who acts, responds to the stimuli and presents our action. And we are the bhokta. The bhokta is the one who receives. Now, on one hand, we receive our prarabdha karma, and then we present our response to the Dharma field. So in order to respond, we respond through what? We respond through the physical body. But the physical body, through its instruments of actions, that we have, the instruments of action, the physical instruments of action, it's activated by the subtle body, okay? Because in the subtle body, there are 5 organs of actions and 5 organs of reception. The 5 organs of reception are going to allow the jiva in its physical body to receive the stimulus coming from the world through the 5 receptors, the 5 sense instruments, physical instruments. So in the subtle body, we have the 5 sense organs of reception, the 5 sense organs of action. So these 5 sense organs of action in these 5 pranas, they all evolve from what? They evolve from rajas. Have you noticed that to offer a response to the field, we need energy? We cannot really respond if there is no rajoguna. The same way, these 5 pranas, it's made of a lot of rajoguna as well, So there are different levels of subtle energies, and tamas being the most dense, as we know, but rajas is what is going to allow this intelligent vital air to do its job. It's a very, very beautifully designed air because it is intelligently designed in such a way that it can operate these 5 different physiological systems, okay? So what it says here is that there is a portion of the subtle body which is composed of the 5 vital airs and the 5 organs of actions. They evolve from Raja, and it's called pranamayakosa, or the Vital Air Sheath. Okay, all of that evolves from Rajas, and that is going to allow the pranas to operate, and is going to allow the jiva to offer its actions. The 5 organs of action is going to allow the jiva to act through the instruments of action. So all of that evolves from Rajoguna. So it's just trying to paint the picture on how these bodies, are constituted. We have the physical body, which is matter, pure matter, and then this physical body, it is run by the 5 koshas, and it's run as well by the 5 organs of action, because this body is designed to act, it's designed to respond to the stimulus, and it needs energy. The energy is being presented here as the ones that are going to keep this body aligned, the pranas, the intelligent vital air, and also the energy derived from Raja that are going to allow this physical body to act. That's why the gross body is being present in connection with those few functions of the subtle body, which are the pranas and the organs of actions. You get the picture? Then the next verse, Vidyaranya says that the doubting mind, now he's going to present the doubting mind and the five organs of knowledge make up what's called the manomaya kosha, the mind sheath. Okay. So look how beautiful this whole thing is constructed. We have in the subtle body now, we have, you know that the first subtle body is multifunctional. There are different functions in it. Huh? We often generalize calling it the mind. But when we break down the teachings, the mind is the doubting, integrating, doubting function of the subtle body. And then there is the intellect, which is the determining, deciding, the supreme judge, and so on. But we see the same realm of the mind, of the doubt mind. There are the five organs of knowledge. What it means to say, the five organs of knowledge. The five organs of knowledge are these five organs of perception that we say, with the organs of experience knowledge, okay? The same organs when we receive it through the subtle body, okay? You know that we are contact the world. In the subtle body, we have the five sense organs, not the five instruments of reception, the five sense organs. And then attached to it, we have the five organs of knowledge, okay? So when we receive, immediately we feel this contact with the object of experience slash knowledge, okay? And then the organs of knowledge together with the organs of reception, because when we receive, we doubt, we question, and then immediately we submit to the organs of knowledge. But it means to say that the organs of reception, okay, the five organs of experience, the five organs of receiving, five sense in the organs level, it's an organ of experience slash knowledge, because it's not absolutely apart one from other. No, we feel, we doubt, and immediately the intellect says, okay, this is it. Okay, so these five organs of knowledge together with the mental body, or with the mind, which is our emotional contact, is the door, is the window by which the jiva contacts the world. So we have the mind there. It's through the mind that the impression comes, the input comes, the stimulus comes, and the mind is going to, to question and sense it and have an emotional sensation about that. Immediately the intellect is jumping over and say like, okay, so let's follow this course of response, this course of action. Yeah? So if the intellect is suppressed, then the individual is too much identified with the mental function of the subtle body. So what happens? The person keeps responding emotionally to the stimulus coming from the field. And as a result, one is going to create a lot of conflicting karma, because the intellect is suppressed. Okay, so the intellect is being bypassed because I just respond emotionally to whatsoever my prarabdha karma is. So the doubting mind and the five organs of knowledge, which is the five sense organs of reception, make up what we call the manomayakosa, which is known as the mind kosha. The intellect, on the other hand, okay, which is the real responsible for knowledge, okay, the intellect and the jnana indriyas make up the vignanamayakosa, the intellect sheath. The intellect sheath, they evolve from Sattva. Okay, that's the idea here. Okay, the organs of actions, the 5 organs evolve from Rajas. Okay, there is Sattva. In every one of those functions, there is a combination, a configuration of the 3 energies and the 5 subtle elements. Yes, Ruth?
What are the jnanindriyas? Jnanindriyas. What is the meaning of that word?
Jnanindriyas. The intellect and the jnana is the 5 organs of knowledge, of pure knowledge. Okay, above, in the beginning of that verse, okay, it says that the doubt mind and the 5 organs of knowledge. Okay, and here, down here, and it says the intellect and the jnana indriyas. The jnana indriyas, the indriyas is, what is indriyas? I forgot the meaning. It's organs, yeah. Indriyas are organs, okay? So, and the intellect and the organs of knowledge. And it's interesting here because down here, he presents, Vidyaranya presents the intellect, and the jnana indriyas make up the vignanamayakosa, okay? And in the beginning of the verse, it says that the doubting mind and the 5 organs of knowledge is synonymous of jnana indriyas. So what he's doing is he's saying that the doubting mind is here, and it's not disconnect from the 5 organs of knowledge. So the organs of knowledge, together with the doubting mind, makes up the manomayakosa, and then the same organs of knowledge, connect with the intellect, which is this discriminating faculty of ours, makes up what's called the vignanamayakosa, the intellect sheath. They all evolved from Sattva. Okay, jnana indriyas, organs of knowledge, and all these organs, they have the denomination, the Sanskrit denomination with indriyas at the end. Okay, so the intellect and the jnana indriyas make up the vignanamayakosa, the intellect sheath. They evolve from Sattva. Let's see let's see what is the commentary here. Manomayakosa is part of the subtle body. Yes, we covered that. Mind is called vimashtana, the doubting function. So as we know, the mind and the organs of knowledge born of Sattva. Yeah, so the entire subtle body is developed with by a dominance of Sattva guna, as we know. The mind creates emotions and desires, and this mind, it's just responding to the stimulus coming from the field, which based on its likes and dislikes, and then creates emotion. What creates emotions? The parabhata karma? No, our likes and dislikes, of course. It's called Isha Shakti. Desire is a constant itch. The determining function is called vignanamayakosa, the intellect sheath. It's also born out of Sattva. It's called Jnana Shakti. So it's a jnana shakti, knowledge power. First we think, then desire, then we act. Okay, so that would be a ideal subtle body structure. We process experience, and then we think, we determine, and then we desire, and then we act. So this would be a subtle body which is designed geometrically, let's say, in a balanced way. We receive the stimuli, we doubt, we question, and then we get that, we submit to the intellect, and then the intellect determines, and then it desires, and then it activates the ego aspect of the subtle body to present an action. Yeah. So let me read again this verse 35. The doubting mind and 5 organs of knowledge make up manomayakosa, the mind sheath. The intellect and the jnanindriyas, the intellect and the organs of knowledge, again, the intellect and the organs of knowledge make up the vignanamayakosa. Yeah, it is, Vidyaranya is just presenting the the doubting mind associate with the jnanindriyas to say that this is the manomayakosa, okay? And then he's present the intellect associate with the organs of knowledge. You see, the organs of the subtle body that receive the stimulus, they are often referred by organs of experience, or organs of reception, or organs of knowledge, because there is no reception, there is no experience completely dissociate from the knowledge in respect to the experience. The question is that a lot of the time we draw wrong determinations, wrong knowledge. We don't extract proper knowledge. But the organs of experience, they are also present in organs of knowledge. And then Vidyaranya puts the doubting mind associated with the organs of knowledge, makes up the manomayakosa, which is the emotional body, because the emotional body, it feels, but it has the intellect there as well. It has not the intellect, the organs of knowledge is there. The organs of knowledge, the receptive sense organs, are receiving the experience, and they are feeling, and they are just, make an effort to understand what's going on, and to decide what is the best response. Okay. And then once it turns up to the intellect, and then it's present as the intellect and the organs of knowledge, okay, not the mind and the organs of knowledge, the intellect plus the receptors, the knowledge receptors, the indriyas of knowledge, okay, the organs of reception associated with knowledge plus the intellect make up what we call vignanamayakosa, the intellect sheath. The entire Sattva body evolved from Sattva. You see, when we go into looking into these teachings, we see a lot of subtleties that begins, nuance, that begins subdividing, and even the manomayakosa and the vignanamayakosa subdivide it. Say vignanamayakosa are the organs of the organs of knowledge plus the intellect. Of course, the intellect needs to have a receiver. Okay, the emotional body needs to have the receiver plus the doubting function. And then it keeps it makes these breakdowns to help us to understand better the way we function. Okay, are we satisfied with this verse?
Yeah, but Linda, I don't understand why first we desire, and then we think, and then we act, because it's making it sound like the intellect is working before the desire has come in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I said that in an ideal structure, subtle body structure, the intellect should think and determine, and then the desire to act in a certain way. But generally speaking, we are moved, by our vasanas, and the vasanas, they produce a desire, a tendency, a desire. And then this desire is going to compel us to act, right? So it's vasana, desire. The vasanas appear in the subtle body as a tendency to desire, or a tendency to avoid something, and then we act. But when we say that vasanas, desires, tendencies desires, and then words and actions. So we are just trying to say that mechanically the jiva is caught in samsara, is in this will, this micro samsara, which is vasanas, desires, words, actions, which are going to reinforce our vasanas. But when the intellect comes in, and then the intellect is going to start breaking this vicious circle that perpetuates itself. So we have a tendency that appears as a desire, but an intelligent, well-structured Sattva body is going to be vigilant, and it's going to be examining every one of these tendencies, every one of these tendencies of these desires, And then we have vasanas, and then we have desire that appears, and then what does the Vedantino does? It examines the desires, because I want to nourish the desires that are going to be on my favor, is going to be conduce me to freedom, not to more and more attachment. You understand? So the intellect comes in, and then there we say we think, then we desire. So otherwise we don't really think, because desire appears in the mind. You see, this idea about thinking, we think in two ways. We think when an object appears before us coming from the field, it comes from Vyavaharic, and then we see an object, and then appears the thought in respect to the object, and then we feel, because our likes and dislikes are going to give us a certain feeling in respect to this object. So the object is coming from outside, and then we are going to feel it, and then our thought is going to come, and then we're going to say, yes, I like it, or I don't like, I desire it, or I desire to avoid it, and then we're going to act. But we have also the thoughts that do not come from outside. It does not come from Vyavaharika, but from Pratibhasika. It comes from the causal body. So you were there, you were very quiet, you are trying to meditate, and then a thought comes. When the thought comes, we have the object which was held in our causal body that pops into our subtle body and appears as a subtle object. That object is going to produce a feeling as well, emotion. You understand? So when it comes from within, and then we are playing with how to control our thoughts, and our emotions and so on. We want to hold thoughts that are going to free us rather than bound us. So that way we have the thought appearing, and then we're going to look at the thought, and they will say, oh, you again, no, thank you, I will pass. You understand? I'm going to stay here, enjoy the satisfaction of my true nature. I'm not going to nourish you. I'm not going to engage you, So the intellect is there to break this vicious cycle. I think that's why the commentary Ramji, most probably Ramji says, first we think, then we desire, then we act. So yeah, when I read it, I felt that this was subject to discussion, and I'm glad that you brought up some discussion about that. Does anybody has any further insight about that sequence present there? First we think, then we desire, then we act. So my take is that if we really think, if we really analyze it, if we really discriminate, and then our desire is going to be good. And why I'm saying that, because desire is not altogether bad. Understand? Desire is not altogether bad. If we desire good things, desire is our best ally, But if we desire wrong, stupid things, and then we're going to be destroyed by desires. Yes, Ruth.
Oh, I was just going to say that the first time I heard this, emotion, thinking, action, was in studying, psychology. So, modern psychologists think this way too, for whatever that, word is.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Arlindo, I was wondering how that fits into the the structure of impulsive, mechanical, and deliberate thinking. So could it be either way, depending upon what kind of process is going on?
Absolutely, absolutely. When our Sattva body, when our intellect is more present and we are more sattvic, and then our response are less impulsive or compulsive or mechanical, no? And why? Because we have less rajas operating and we have more sattva. Sattva is going to give the contemplation ingredient element, that's going to allow us not to jump the gun and offer emotional reaction, and it's going to allow us to process and to think intelligently, and then present an action, a response, right? It's absolutely connect to what you say. Yeah, deliberate thinking. So conscious thinking rather than unconsciously thinking. Another way to put it. Anything else? Okay, let me see just one thing here. Verse we think the verse 36, the impure sattva, which is the causal body. The impure sattva, which is the causal body, bliss, and other mental modification in seed form, vrittis, is called the anandamayakosa or the bliss sheath. When the self identifies with the various sheaths, it seems to take on the attributes of the sheaths with which it is identified. So the impure sattva, which is the causal body, bliss and other mental modifications in seed form. So why he's calling impure sattva, okay? Because you remember the talk about pure and impure prakriti that we saw in the beginning of the Panchadasi, pure and impure. So prakriti, it's pure when it's pure sattva and becomes impure with the inclusions of rajas and tamas. Here it says the impure prakriti or sattva, which is the causal body, bliss and other mental modifications in seed form, which is called the anandamayakosa or the bliss sheath. Okay, so this is a very, very interesting verse, and I want to look into what Swami Paramarthananda said about this verse, because it intrigues me the way he presents this impure sattva. He presents the causal body as the impure sattva, which is a source of bliss. Okay, we know that the sattva body is very sattvic and it offers a certain reflectivity. It reflects, it shines, and it produces this duality, subject and object. So we know that the causal body is a condition in which the sattva body develops a dominance of tamas, which is more and more impurities, to the extent that somehow this duality, subject, object, it fades or it's suspended, okay? Because the sattva body, it unfolds back into the causal body, okay? Into the causal body. So it is the sattva which develops more tamas, which means more impurity, which is the causal body. The bliss and other mental modifications in seed form is called anandamayakosa. I tell you one thing: the most subtle, the most difficult, abstract, the teaching that I still often I scratch my head, try to understand, is the teaching regarding the causal body, anandamayakosa. Okay, so the causal body is that which cannot really be easily understood or objectified by us. And I have some very subtle questions about the nature of the causal body. And many years ago, I spoke to Ramji about that, but we did not come to a clear understanding because it's almost like impossible to understand the causal body. Okay, so for example, we know that the causal body produce bliss. Why? Because we experience it in deep sleep and in certain other states, you know. So we experience this bliss, but the bliss of the causal body is a very interesting bliss because it's not a bliss of someone or something that is fully alert and present, enjoying a conscious bliss of a mystical experience or a feeling, an epiphany of I am limitless consciousness, you know, in a conscious way. So when we experience the anandamayakosa through those samadhis and deep sleep, it's said that our subtle body developed more and more tamas, and then we don't have a conscious entity, the so-called visual, as the agent experiencing anything. We have another agent. The visual becomes prana, and prana is it's a very intriguing agent because it's not pure. It's under the influence of excess of tamas, so much so that it cannot perceive anything, you know. It's said many times that it's in the indifferentiated ocean of tamas that produce the anandamayakosa, in which there is no duality, subject, object. I think it is on those lines that impure sattva, which is the causal body, you know. But then how we associate this very tamasic condition with bliss. You understand? If bliss is often associated with a total dominance of sattva, which is conducive to a fully alert and present, you know, conscious experience of the true nature of the self. You understand? So Ramana Maharaj used to discourage people to fall in this anandamayakosa, the anandamayakosa of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. He used to discourage people. I know that from the words of Papaji, because Papaji's daughter used to have that vasana, and Ramana Maharaj used to like her very much and used to tell her and Papaji, so don't keep falling asleep. I need you alert, okay? So stay silent, but stay alert so that you can benefit from the knowledge that is possible. The same way Ramana has gained self-knowledge in that silence, you know, going from cave to cave, try to escape the crowds, you know. So we need to be in this awakened condition in which sattva is fully developed in the subtle body. The jiva did not develop an excess of tamas. Okay, so and then that takes us into a very interesting conversation that often I say there are two levels of anandamayakosa. One is by the development of dominance of sattva without, you know, remaining alert. Let me say something more about that. In Tiruvannamalai, I always experienced difficulty with sleep because my subtle body used to become too sattvic, and the Jiva Atma used to become very sattvic, and then I did not have enough tamas to help me to go to sleep. You understand? So there are two kinds of bliss, or anandamayakosa, or ananda experience of bliss, peace, satisfaction. One is fully awake, and another one is fully unconsciously. When we are really unconscious, we go to deep sleep, we experience a certain level of anandamayakosa, but we are not really conscious because the visual has turned into prana. You understand? The prana is the subconscious agent. Okay, so these kind of conversations are very subtle, very intriguing, and I'm going to do some research into the words of Vidyaranya Swami, into Swami Paramarthananda. And I see, it's not the first time that I thought of calling Swami Paramarthananda to talk about the Anandamayakosa, because it intrigues me, these apparent contradictions, like we need a lot of sattva, but with a lot of sattva, we don't fall asleep. On the other hand, we say when we fall asleep, either by fainting, going to deep sleep, or going into nirvikalpa samadhi, and then we experience anandamayakosa. But it's what I often call an inferior anandamayakosa, because the Vishwa, the one who could benefit by that ananda, is no longer conscious. Yes. Yes, Ruth.
So the fact that the anandamayakosa occurs in mithya by a jiva that's a mixture of the koshas, just by that understanding alone, you have to say that anandamayakosa can never be pure sattva here in the dual world. I mean, it just kind of logically makes sense. Yeah.
We know that pure sattva is Ishvara. Ishvara is pure knowledge, pure sattva, is self-conscious and so on. Anyhow, thank you, Ruth. And we went over the time a little bit. I hope you don't mind. And we meet again next time. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti. Thank you, my friends. We meet again soon. Okay. Much love. Bye-bye. Thank you, Renato.
Thanks, Arlinda. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Elizabeth.